I want Professional Lunch, this show to be a resource for students. And so we this season we have implemented a segment called Question from the Student segment.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with those questions, and I have asked a lot of questions, and today I picked up only six. And this from different majors. So hopefully that is you okay with that. And the first question I want to ask is, um, it's from Cassidy. Cassidy's major is natural resource management. And what is one thing you are doing in your job right now that you never thought you would be doing?
Oh, I think that's an exciting question because I never thought I'd be going into the community, going to state government department agencies, going to the leadership of school districts, and teaching them and training them on how to do their job better. And doing it in a way where I know that they're the experts in their jobs, but I have something to add to it. And that something is something that I've actually researched, and I've conducted that research, and I have findings and outcomes that I think can directly translate into what they're doing as well. So being able to have what I do as a professor go beyond this campus and go to organizations and entities that matter and being able to help them, I'm not sure I ever thought I would get to that level, and I appreciate being able to.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is from Jackie, business management. And I would ask, how did you get started?
So how I got started in being a professor?
Yeah, I would get teaching, and she stopped short of saying that. But
Sure. Yeah, so I've always enjoyed teaching. It took me a little bit to figure out that I wanted to be a professor. I had some opportunities to go into consulting or maybe teach at a community college. But during my master's program, my first year, actually, I struggled a little bit in my master's program. I struggled to grasp what it was that mattered in the program. They were talking about concepts and terms. I was reading articles that I wasn't familiar. I didn't know how to read those and understand them fully. And so I struggled a little bit. And then I found an area of research, which is group communication, that I could get my mind around and I could get passionate about. And that discovery changed the course. All of a sudden, I was able to see different career opportunities with that kind of interest. And so again, it's important. I work with students who are high school students, with first year, second year students. They're trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, so to speak. I was my second year in my graduate program asking the same question before I found that answer. But as I continued down that path, I was able to find something I was passionate about. And then that opened it up a little bit for me. So I do think finding something you're passionate about, recognizing it doesn't have to be a specific topic or a content area. It might be a type of interaction. It might be an area of the world that you're passionate about. But allowing yourself to kind of be broad and open to what that is, and then to accept it for how you experience it, right? I know there are some students who think, I want to have this specific job because I've always envisioned myself being this specific job. That's not really where their passion is. And so I worry sometimes that they're a little bit too rigid in their thinking and not opening themselves up to, oh, I'm going to be doing this career for, 40 years? I might as well try to figure out what my passion is as I pursue that. And understanding that I'll have to be flexible moving forward. That's what a career is. But if you can find something that you're passionate about, I mean, the day-to-day grind of any job is going to have its ups and downs. Having that intrinsic passion behind it is going to be very helpful.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. One thing that a sense of satisfaction that I have with doing Professional Lunch is being able to take questions from the students, ask them, what they want to do, and then they don't know. I say, look, I have this show. This is what I do. I talk to professionals and ask them, how did they do it? And when you talk like that, when you say these things, and somebody can be listening to that and take whatever you say right now and be able to use it, that really give me a great sense of satisfaction.
That's great.
Yes, I really like that. And we have one from Ian, another question from Ian. And his major is engineering. And he said, what is one class that you wish you took when you were in college?
Oh, wow. I think I wished I would have taken the class that I teach now earlier, so I could have found my path about 5 years before I did. I know I love classes on human interaction. I love figuring out how people's minds tick. And so taking a class on conflict management and decision making early on, I think, first of all, those classes will be helpful to you no matter what your career path is. There are some classes that are kind of at the heart of the university education. There's some classes you take because they're related to your major. But everybody should take a class on conflict management, on decision making, on meeting facilitation. These are part of everything that we do moving forward. And so I wish I would have taken some of those classes earlier on so that I could have incorporated what I learned from those classes into my educational experience as I went through it.
Wow, great point. Well, because regardless of where you work, what team you have, the team can be operating perfectly, but they will still have to work out some of the struggle they have, some of the conflicts. Really good point. I love that. And I have this question is from a Christian. Business administration is the major. So when working with a team, what has been one of the biggest struggles you've encountered?
Oh, I think, and again, I'm fortunate that I get to teach and study on this topic. And the biggest issue ends up being making sure that people feel like they're all contributing and valued members of the group. So research suggests anything that ends up being a relational conflict tends to lead to negative outcomes in a group. Anything that could be task-oriented, even if it's conflict, can lead to more positive outcomes in the group. If I don't feel valued in that group, if I come in maybe and I don't want to, I'm busy, right? So I don't want to overdo it because I know I have other things going on. If I think I'm coming to meetings and they don't really matter and then I'm not needed, that leads to a lot of negative outcomes. Meetings in general, if you tell someone, do you like going to meetings? Most of the time they're going to say, no, that's not the most exciting part of my job. That's the part I wish we had less of. And I think a lot of that's because individuals don't know why they're part of that meeting. And sometimes we screw up. We invite people to meetings that they shouldn't be coming to, right? Because we think we need to include everybody, or we think that this is a good show of leadership. But if we can have meetings that are functional and participants that know how they can be functional, then groups tend to be quite successful. Going to the question, if people don't see their importance to that meeting, then we tend to go a different direction.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. And I have two more left. One from Alex. Alex said, why did you specifically choose this area of study?
Yeah, I think it goes back to some of my answers on this. Is just very interesting to me. I also, we've all been in groups and teams that maybe aren't as highly functional and know how frustrating that can be. And so my opportunity to help people in those ways was the reason why I went down that path. And I think it's important. Society turns to groups and teams to accomplish most of what it does.
Yes.
And I think of the groups that I mentioned earlier. A breast cancer support group. We have individuals who are going through difficult physical and health issues. And who do we turn to try to boost them? A group or a team. We have difficult issues in government. What do? We create a committee and try to figure out how to solve those issues. We have issues where we're trying to help a special needs student. What do? We create a team or group. So that interest I have is because that's where we go to as a society to solve these problems. And so if we're not functioning well as a group or a team, we're in trouble because that's where we're going for those answers.
Well, and the last question is from Anne. And I came to professional lunch and specifically asked this question, so I'm going to repeat what she's asked. What is your advice for students who want to start out in a communication specialist position and work their way up to a communication director?
Yeah, I think the answer is a little bit in the question, because it's a good question, is you're going to have these skills. And we have students who are interested in a variety of different types of communication majors, strategic communication, management communication, journalism students. And a lot of times it's not only having that skill set, but getting your foot in the door and letting that experience, those experiences that you have, those expertises that you have, I made up a word there, those levels of expertise that you have, letting that show through with your job. So our students do a really good job of once they have that foot in the door, being promoted going forward.
Mhm.
They're considerate, they're thoughtful, they apply what they learned in our classes, and they apply it in a way that others can see that they're valued members of that organization. You want to be a director of communication, you're going to need some experience before you get that position. That experience is what's going to lead you to getting that position, combined with the educational experience that you have with us. So allowing yourself to be a strong employee when you're not in that position will oftentimes allow you to take the steps to get to that position.
Wonderful.